The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
I believe that it was overwhelming that this was a catfish. I think the term has been used kind of across the board now. That was set up by the defendant, yes.
Was one of those theories catfishing?
It wasn't stated what the theory was. It just said there were two theories and you need to get behind the right one.
Do you know what catfishing is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was that something that you were pushing with your homicide detectives at any point?
I wouldn't characterize that as pushing.
The defense case is winding down in the au pair affair murder trial, and the catfish theory is coming into question. So, is it credible? Plus, a Hollywood showdown between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. Arguments heard in their civil case. So what are the chances that these actors will take the case to trial? And a death ruled a suicide, but was it really murder? Ellen Greenberg's case is back in our spotlight, and this morning, her parents are joining me live. We're wondering, could we see a federal investigation into their daughter's death? We'll talk about it. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Friday morning to you, my friends. We made it. This is Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant, and it's great to have you here this morning. We have a big show on tap for you, so let's get it started. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. It's about time. It's about time that another look is taken at Ellen Greenberg's death. Local station NBC 10 in Philadelphia is reporting that the U.S. Attorney's Office is interested in Ellen's case and has requested police reports from the Philadelphia Police Department as well as from other agencies. Let's hope this is true. And let's hope the case gets a fresh set of eyes put on it. Because you can't tell me Ellen Greenberg wasn't murdered. The 27-year-old teacher was stabbed to death in the apartment that she shared with her fiancé back in 2011. She suffered 20 stab wounds, half of them to the back of her head and the back of her neck, the other half to her chest. Her fiancé told 911 that he discovered her bleeding with a knife sticking out of her chest, and he also told the dispatcher that she either stabbed herself or fell on the knife. Initially, Ellen Greenberg's manner of death was ruled a homicide, and then it was changed without explanation to suicide. Apparently based on information that her fiancé provided about the apartment supposedly being latched from the inside. At autopsy, the forensic pathologist who examined her body noted multiple bruises in different places that were in various stages of healing. Ellen Greenberg's parents are still fighting for justice for their daughter. And this morning, they will be joining me live on this program to talk about the possibility of a federal investigation into her death. To me, this case stinks to high heaven, and I sure hope the Greenbergs get some answers soon. Their daughter was a beautiful young lady, and she should be here today. That's my opening statement on this Friday morning. Let me know if you like it. Right now, time for your daily docket.
We're very, very concerned because this is very out of character. And we can't get in touch with his wife, which is probably the more concerning thing.
I can hear kids inside, and I swear I think I heard one yell.
What's changed since the last person I talked to?
There's a body. There's a body.
There's a body inside?
Yeah.
Oh my, in Ohio, the man accused of shooting dentist Spencer Tepe and his wife, Monique Tepe, is expected to be arraigned in court. This guy was once married to Monique. He's a doctor as well. He's a vascular surgeon. Dr. Michael McKee set to be in court today at 1 p.m. Eastern time. We're following that for you. In Utah, we're following the family murder plot. Some people are calling this case the Utah Adelsons. Court's going to start up at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time there. The defendant is Kevin Ellis. He's accused of murdering his brother-in-law in a plot involving his sister and his mom. And in New Jersey, we have the Mansion murders trial for defendant Paul Canero. That one resumes 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. We'll take you there as well throughout the day. Right now, Let's turn to your top story. Testimony resuming in just a couple of hours in the Au Pair Affair murder trial. The defense has only a few more witnesses, and the judge wants all the evidence to be in by the end of the day because of that big storm we're facing here in America. Now, on Thursday, the defense doubled down on its claim that the detectives were locked in on the so-called catfish theory. They say they were locked in from the start, painting Brendan Banfield as the mastermind behind his wife's Christine's murder. Law enforcement made clear on the stand that there were disagreements over the case theory.
Did there come a time when supervisors were suggesting theories to the homicide investigators in this case?
So we had a briefing within the first week of the incident where we were discussing everything that everybody had done and the information that was collected. And our supervisor at the time told us there were two theories in the case and we needed to get behind the right one.
Was one of those theories catfishing?
It wasn't stated what the theory was. It just said there were two theories and you need to get behind the right one.
Now, according to law enforcement, the right theory is that the au pair and Brendan Banfield posed as Christine on her devices in order to lure Joseph Ryan to the house for a violent rape encounter. The au pair testified that that's exactly what happened. So let's talk about the catfish theory. Is this a credible one? And what about investigators within the department that may have disagreed with that? Let's bring in someone who served in the NYPD. He's a private investigator now with Black Ops Private Investigators Manuel Gomez and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Joe Tamburino. Good morning to you, gentlemen. Manuel, I'll start with you, please. Thoughts on how different investigators can disagree within a department or a unit while working a case. Talk to us about that.
Well, that's very common in a case like this because there's so many different aspects coming at you at one time. But one of the things on this case, when it comes to the catfishing, the evidence is overwhelming. Julie, she sent 73 letters to the jail, and out of those 73 letters, there's something like 14 of them that kind of lay out the diagram of how this event unfolded, okay? So even though they were back and forth trying to say, well, the catfish theory is wrong, the fact is the digital footprint shows they were using that fetish site, and they were using it posing as Christine. That's a fact that they can't get away from. And I truly believe in this case, Julie, that Mr. Banfield will be found guilty. I don't see the jury liking him in any shape or form and them not believing that he didn't mastermind this, because when you hear the au pair speak, she can barely talk. I mean, you can clearly see she's a very poorly educated girl and very manipulatable, and he took advantage of the situation.
Manuel, really appreciate your insights. Thank you. Joe, this makes me think about my time as a prosecutor, when sometimes as a prosecutor, you disagree with your police. I'm sure you've been there, and now certainly now that you're in the defense bar, there are times where, you don't always see eye to eye. How do the lawyers for the Commonwealth reconcile these disagreements among the police officers?
Well, thanks for having me on, Julie. I agree with Manuel. The way they reconcile them is that you just accept it as facts. Sometimes police disagree on theories of the case. However, the evidence is overwhelming. You go back to physical evidence, meaning the digital footprints, how they set up the accounts, what they were trying to do, using, obviously, the victim's electronics. So that's what you always go back to. You might have different theories, but you go back to what type of evidence is not changing. And what's not changing here is the electronic evidence.
Right, right. Joe, let's look at a clip together. This is from the au pair. She's testifying to seeing Brendan Banfield set up that account.
Can you recall the name of the profile that the defendant created for the FetLife account?
Anastasia Knight.
And was there a photograph added to that profile?
Yes.
Who is the photograph of?
It's Christine's body in a bathing suit.
Did he say why he picked Joe after interacting with him on FetLife?
It was mostly because he made Brendan feel confident enough that he would be the person to play the role that needed the person to play.
Manuel, you already made the point that you don't think the au pair has a lot of horsepower upstairs. So do you think that maybe the Commonwealth needs to lean into, in order to carry out this plan, you had to be really sharp to do this, and she just was not?
That's absolutely correct. And that's the big thing on this case. I mean, when you look at the evidence, and one of the things I like to point out to you, Judy, is remember, besides doing the fetish site to lure in that guy to kill and to rape the wife, to enjoy his sick fetish, the fact is they can't get away from the evidence that Banfield trained this girl how to use a gun. He had her do the final shot to kill the rapist, okay? And it's clear as day, it's as clear as the nose on my face that this girl has an IQ of somebody that maybe is like a 5th grade, 6th grade education, okay? She is not capable of planning this out the way it was done. This man will be found guilty. And the one fact that they can't get away with, Julie, is that the jury is not gonna like him because they have admitted time and time and time again on their affair. While she was hired to take care of their child, she was having sex in his wife's bed.
Oh, yeah. And for anybody just tuning in, they moved into the bedroom. They moved into the room where the homicides occurred, Brendan Banfield and the au pair, and they slept there at night. Just let that sink in. Joe Tamburino, I got another clip I'd love for you to take a look at. This is from a woman who works as the director of victim services for the Fairfax County Police Department. Here she's talking about the catfish theory, how it came up. Let's watch.
What was it that happened that raised in your mind the question of Christine having been set up?
At the hotel. So from my understanding, we had an intel detective in the lobby of the hotel that we had everybody in, and she had asked Juliana, can I call you mommy now?
When you say she, who are we
I'm
talking
sorry,
about?
Valerie. Said,
Valerie, Christine's daughter?
Yes, said, can I call you mommy now? Juliana, again, I don't remember her answer. She said yes. And then she said, are you gonna marry my daddy? And Juliana said, I wish.
Oh my, this just makes my heart sink. Joe, what do you think about that?
Well, it's awful, and I agree with Manuel again about, you know, everything that's going on with the evidence, but not this clip that you played, Julie, but the one before when you then ask Manuel a question. The juxtaposition between Brendan and the au pair, Ms. I can't pronounce her last name, but the au pair was great because you could see on one, the au pair really doesn't know much about, planning. She's just talking about things that she knows, and she doesn't seem to be a sophisticated person at all. And then you have in the other clip, Brendan, who won't look up, who keeps looking down. I mean, just the physicality of it shows you that something's going on with him, and the jury is watching that. So I agree with Manuel. I think the evidence is overwhelming. I don't know what they're going to say in closing arguments, and I think this is an open and shut case at this point.
Great insights, Joe. Yeah, we need to remind ourselves of that. The jury is seeing it. What we're seeing, they're seeing. And if we think that it's weird how he's looking down like that, yeah, I'm sure they are too. Great insight. As always, gentlemen, stand by, please. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, so much more to come for you here on Opening Statements. Take a look.
The case is really about Blake Lively's testimony about what happened to her, and she is ready to go to trial and ready to give that evidence.
So will Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni go to trial? We're talking about that next. Plus, over 20 stab wounds, yet the case was labeled a suicide. Ellen Greenberg's death is back in the headlines with the possibility of a federal investigation. Her mom and dad are joining me live.
The Court TV podcast will return.
Welcome back. The public spat between It Ends With Us co-stars Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni finds itself heading towards trial in a federal courtroom in New York. Attorneys for Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni back in court Thursday arguing over motions connected to claims that each one of them made about alleged drama behind the scenes of the film's production of It Ends With Us. Court TV's Cody Thomas has more.
We all have an idea of what life can be.
I want to see you again.
It Ends With Us is a story of romance and domestic violence, but the legal battles between the film's stars have taken center stage. Blake Lively, wife of A-lister Ryan Reynolds, is Lily Bloom, a florist. Lively's big break came in 2005's Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants and Gossip Girl 2 years later.
Oh, that's my brother Ryle.
The first official customer?
Justin Baldoni, who owns the rights to It Ends With Us, produced and stars as Ryle Kincaid, Bloom's love interest. Lively filed a lawsuit in December 2024 accusing Baldoni of sexual harassment and attacking her reputation. Among her claims, Lively accuses Baldoni of repeatedly adding sex scenes focused on her and casting Baldoni's friend in a delivery room scene so he could see Lively unclothed. Then Baldoni filed his own claim, seeking $400 million from Lively and her husband, saying they falsified claims to take control of the movie and engaged in an orchestrated public attack on his reputation. His lawsuit also alleged that Lively ignored his request for her to meet with an intimacy coach before filming certain scenes. A judge dismissed Baldoni's claims in June 2025, but Lively's case is still active in New York federal court. She's seeking unspecified damages.
Now, after the court hearing on Thursday, Blake Lively's spokesperson and attorney had this to say about the actress's intentions for the case.
Blake Lively wants this to go to trial. She really is in a position where she's got mountains of strong evidence. She feels very good about her claims, and she wants to send a message to all women that if you are wronged and harmed in the workplace, you can stand up for yourself. You can say that this is not right and should not continue.
So we're asking, what are the chances that Lively and Baldoni actually take this to trial? Let's talk about it in the studio. I'm so happy to have with me comedian and media entrepreneur Rachel LaForce and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Franz Borghardt. Good morning to you both. Good morning. Lovely to have you here. I'm sure you both have a lot to say about this. Are we going to trial here, Rachel? I feel like there's like endless jokes here.
Yeah. Well, I know it's this all started because of It Ends With Us. And I'm like, apparently it doesn't, because it just keeps going and going. It's like that song, it is the song that never ends. And, it's like, obviously, I'm on this stance of like support all women. And I'm also like, could we just call it? Could we call it on this one?
Right.
And this is, we were even talking about it. We were so worked up before we even got in the room on the couch. We were going on and on about it.
So the whole thing is weird. So as a defense attorney, I would love to defend this case because Hollywood filming, like it throws into question the question about consent and what is normal versus what's not normal. I'm not an actor. I'm not in Hollywood yet.
But you could be, Franz. You could be.
But so
a buddy cop movie.
What me as viewer expects and what really happens behind the scenes are totally different. And so based on kind of the totality of the facts, this may be a good case or it may be a bad. Now, this is all civil.
Sure.
No, he's not being arrested. It's sexual harassment, not necessarily sexual assault, but it kind of has a cringy sexual assault element to it.
Yeah.
But if you're a federal judge, aren't you just sitting there thinking, really, guys? Like, really?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Rachel.
He is a creep. This is just, again, if you said I can say what I want to say. I mean, that's the thing that does really bother me. It's just, we find that people, even if it was just something that was fun, and again, it was kind of this hard to parcel out, right? Which is like where a lot of abusers sit, where it's like, we're going to make this really hard. And everyone's like, well, she's not likable. And I'm like, sure, she's not likable. I feel like we can all agree on that, I'm like, I feel like there's some things here that we can all agree on. But it's like, I sued you. Well, you're not coming to my birthday party. Like, I feel like that's where we've landed now.
So my question is, in Hollywood, in this Me Too movement, where we've had serious sexual assaults, serious sexual harassment allegations that finally have come to light, this one seems different. It seems like, and I'm not invalidating what she's either going to be a champion for a lot of actresses and actors, or she's going to set the movement back.
Right.
It's,
if there's one or the other front.
Right, there's no middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
This just seems different because it's the actual filming and production of a piece of art that is different than, hey, do you really want to be an actress? How badly do you want to be an actress?
Well, again, totally. And again, that's where it was like, I mean, jokes aside, where it's like, that's what makes it really dangerous. And that is the thing I do want to vocalize for anybody that's watching this, of like, when it's something where it's like, well, did he do that, or can we? It's like, that's how things like this persist, especially in Hollywood, because it is covert, and it is, and so I do think in a lot of ways, hats off to her for being willing to get beat up relentlessly through this entire thing. You know, that's me making the assumption that all of these facts are true and that, you know, she has been harmed and all of those things. But it is at the point, you know, where we're like, okay, can somebody wrap this up, you know? I'm also just shocked that they have that much time. I mean, I know they don't have to go into court and they're not filing all these motions, but it's like, somebody's still talking to lawyers.
Right.
They still have to talk to, they gotta sign something.
Oh, it's expensive to go to trial. I mean, you know, Franz, you know, I can't imagine if they take this to trial, this is going to be very expensive for both of them.
I think the cost of the litigation is going to exceed the value of whatever she may or may not recover. That's number one. Number two is what we saw yesterday was a motion for summary judgment. For the viewers, you know this, for the viewers, that's, hey, do you have enough to move forward? Is there really a controversy here? And there is.
Yeah.
And I anticipate this judge saying, okay, let's tee it up.
Right.
That said, this does seem like a case that would settle, except they're so entrenched. They're like ticks right now. They've doubled down, they've tripled down, and I don't think either of them will settle now because of the optics of the settlement. But this is the case that should probably settle.
Right.
I mean, and candidly, the deep pocket is not this actor. It would be whoever was ensuring the film production. So if you're on the hook for that, aren't you sitting back thinking, why aren't we settling this?
Right, excellent points. So, you know, and that kind of raises the bigger question. Could this become a bigger problem for Hollywood? So looking at some of the text messages, we know that's become the headline, right? Because Taylor Swift being Blake Lively's best friend, you know, and spicy interactions between them being revealed. There was the one that's, I think, being talked about the most, where Swift wrote to Lively, quote, "I think this B knows something is coming because he's gotten out his tiny violin." That has everybody buzzing, right? Music superstar Taylor Swift isn't the only A-lister attached, as we found out. Apparently, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and Jennifer Lopez have also been brought into the headlines due to their connections with Blake Lively. So we're kind of wondering, when you look at it from the vantage point of these other stars, you know, Taylor Swift especially, like, you know, like you said, Rachel, like, this just needs to end, right? And it feels like it's never going to end. Your thoughts, is this going to snowball and get bigger?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, to exactly what you said, where it's like, I think at this point they're so entrenched. It's like watching these two people arm wrestle, and they have so much to win and so much to lose. And again, if I'm, you know, saying that it's like Blake Lively does deserve to have her name cleared, and they're like entrenched in this, it's like, well, why would you give up? If you have the money to see it through, and at this point where you're like, oh, no, we're gonna finish this, you know? But then I also see on his end, he's a narcissist, and it's like, oh, no, anything you can do, I can do better. So I don't know, but I think that there is a lot of pressure, like you're talking about. I don't even think about, it's like, think of all the hands that are in there, all the people that stand to lose money, reputations. I think eventually there is gonna be a tipping point. There's enough people going, you have to settle this.
Franz.
Real quick, you know deep down inside, I'm a Swiftie. I'm a Swiftie to my core. However, Taylor Swift is about to be declared a hostile witness and has not exactly been participating in the deposition process. Taylor Swift needs to be careful, because optically, yeah, I get it. She has enough money to buy all three of us twice over. Sure. Good for her.
I'm for sale.
Yeah. And by the way, if Taylor Swift needs a pool dude, I'm signing up. But my point is, it's going to get real messy, because while hostile witness has a certain, okay, well, that's great, whatever that means. If you don't do what you're supposed to do in the federal court, federal judges don't like it. And like, there's a scenario where if Taylor Swift doesn't like show up, she could get held in contempt of court. And like that, in federal, that means jail time.
Right.
So it's going to get way more messy before it gets clean.
Yes, and that'll cost her money, too.
Right.
All of these celebrities, if they're going to have to appear, you know they're going to want their lawyers there with them at the courthouse going through this. We'll see what happens. We wonder if it's going to be like the next Johnny Depp Amber Heard case. Stay tuned, friends at home. We'll leave it there for now. Rachel and Franz, thanks so much for the insights. Friends at home, don't go anywhere except maybe to refill your coffee. You'll want to come right back. Here's what's next.
They said something about suicide, which I never considered for 1 second. Never, ever, ever would she do that.
It's like somebody punches you hard in the stomach, and again, and the air goes out of your lungs and you can't breathe.
Ellen Greenberg's death disputed. The mystery is deepening. Could we see a federal investigation? Her mom and dad join me live next.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
This morning, we're giving a voice to victims as a mother and father fight for justice for their daughter, who was found stabbed some 20 times inside of her Philadelphia apartment. Ellen Greenberg's fiance made the discovery back in 2011. Her death was ruled a homicide, but then was changed to suicide, which her family has never believed. Now, there are new reports that the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania is getting involved and seeking documents and information relating to Ellen's case. So could this finally lead to justice for Ellen and her parents? I want to welcome in now Ellen's mom and dad, Dr. Josh Greenberg and his wife, Mrs. Sandy Greenberg. Good morning to you both. On behalf of everyone at Court TV, we are so sorry for your loss, and we thank you for taking the time to join us this morning. I want to start. Oh, please, Dr. Greenberg.
Okay, I don't want to misquote anybody, so let's start off right. The federal government investigation is about corruption, not about Ellen. We are hopeful, though, because we have only asked for 2 things through the whole ordeal: a unbiased investigation led by an unbiased leader. So the investigation the federal government is making is about corruption in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. If it becomes that, it sort of slides into what we've asked for, would be those 2 issues, the investigation and the leadership. I just like to be as accurate as I can. I don't want to say anything that might, I don't know, I might be wrong. I don't want the federal government to think that Ellen's case is taking precedent over everything else. No, this is about the whole state and the whole city. Thank you very much. Let's go on.
Understood. Okay, and so, and essentially, if there's an investigation as to whether or not the agencies were handling things properly, that could potentially lead to Ellen's death being re-examined, which is obviously what you're wishing for. I want to go back to that day with you both, the day in question. We're going back to 2011. It's a snowstorm. Ellen had just got done with school. Was she planning to leave her fiancé that day?
I have no idea. She went, after she cleaned off her car, she went and filled up her car with a full tank of gas, then came home, and then everything gets very murky because all we're able to do is rely on Sam's voice, and we haven't really had, a lot of communication, and so many things, details have been withheld from us from the police and the building. There's suddenly missing camera footage, and they won't let us see the guest log, and things don't add up, and but based on photographs and other interviews from other experts in the past 15 years, we've been able to put enough together to kind of have things figured out. And this was definitely not a suicide.
I'm going to react here. Can I react to your question?
Please, yes.
There were 2 things that we saw that we felt signaled maybe she was leaving finally. Now, we believe she was a victim of abuse, and if you know anything about abuse, she's a victim, she thinks she's a victim, and she's not willing to leave the master, so to speak. I don't know what the right words are. But 2 things. Number 1, the engagement ring was on her night table, not on her finger. And number two, we think we see the stacking of her makeup and
Toiletries.
Toiletries and makeup. To a woman, first of all, I found out how much that cost. I never knew that. But second of all, to a woman, it's almost a part of her. It's like her hair is another animal that she takes care of, if you know what I'm saying. And I don't mean to be derogatory. I'm just telling you, there were things that led us to believe maybe she was finally leaving. And like Sandy, I don't know, you said the gas tank thing, right?
Yes.
That she had filled up the gas tank during the storm. So you can take over now. I'm sorry. I've interrupted twice now. I'm going to keep quiet.
Dr. Greenberg, don't be sorry. We want to hear all of this because we had heard that she had a bag packed that night ready to go. Was this what you're referencing, the toiletry bag, or was it a larger suitcase, duffel bag?
A stack of toiletries on her bed, which was neatly made underneath that stack of items. And as I said, I'm under the impression that to a woman, that's gold, or maybe even you know something more than gold.
Sure.
I don't know. You can see I'm not a makeup man.
Well, you know, we know at autopsy, one of the things that I found to be very telling was that her body had bruises all over it that were in various stages of healing, indicating that they didn't necessarily come from the event in question, but could have been on her body leading up to this point. What did you think when you heard that?
What?
I was devastated. I wasn't familiar with domestic violence, and I was crushed.
Although it was not investigated, I think it was noted in her first autopsy that this was consistent with violent abuse.
It's in the pictures, even though we haven't seen the autopsy pictures. We have seen from other podcasts or videos the isolated areas where he had bruising.
We had chosen so far not to look at those pictures.
I can certainly understand why. Have you ever had an opportunity to ask Ellen's fiance if he knows how she got those bruises?
No.
I'm glad you're hitting on the bruises because I think it wasn't stressed enough in this whole matter. And I think Philadelphia should be aware that we think there's a killer and a female abuser loose in Philadelphia or wherever he or she may now live. But they didn't do an investigation on the bruises and other things, but the bruises really, for me now, since we're talking about that, they never really followed up to see who did that, just because she had passed away. So I'm glad you brought that up, seriously.
Did Ellen ever indicate to you that she was afraid of her fiance?
No.
What did he have to say to you after Ellen's death?
Very little. Very, very little. The family came to the funeral, and then it's customary to sit Shiva where we gather and
Tell stories about Ellen.
And they chose not to join us, which I also find.
Because there are certain things we don't quite understand and nobody seems to be able to explain, we are putting out our hands to Mr. Goldberg and or his family to meet with us and share with us in the investigation and answer some questions about, because we don't understand what he was doing outside for so long, the apartment before he went in. Sandy, what was?
Why he sent such angry texts? Why did he acknowledge that she was flat on her back when she was found seated up against the cabinets? And questions about the lock, the inside lock, not really being disturbed.
So there are things that only he can answer for us and clear up. Thank you.
I wanted to ask you both about that because it seems that investigators largely hung their hat on two things: that the lock appeared to be latched from the inside, or at least they were under the impression that that was so, and that Ellen didn't have defensive wounds anywhere on her body.
She did, though.
Oh, tell me.
You know,
yeah.
There were marks around her wrists when they did around the neck and they pulled the strap muscles up, they could see a fingernail print in her neck. And the first person to arrive at the scene was, when they called 911, the guy went upstairs, he came downstairs, he told the front desk, you have a homicide upstairs. And that man, who was identified by News Nation, Brian Enton, was never interviewed by the police. In 15 years, the Philadelphia police never even spoke to him, got a report, nothing.
He was also a EMT that was experienced. He was not a kid, so he knew what he was looking at, and he'd seen these types of scenes before. There were two other areas that showed signs of abuse or restraint. Both wrists were very badly injured, like somebody had held their wrists, whatever. And so the police weren't quite accurate in their summation.
This is exactly why we wanted to have this conversation. Dr. and Mrs. Greenberg, stand by kindly, please. We're going to hit a quick break. When we come back, we're going to take a closer look at Ellen Greenberg's mysterious death and talk about some opinions about it that have been given by some of the world's most renowned experts.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
We continue to be a voice for victims for Ellen Greenberg, a 27-year-old teacher who was stabbed to death in her apartment in Philadelphia. Her death was ruled a suicide. And there's a possibility now that the federal government could be looking into her case as they're investigating the way things are being handled among agencies in Philadelphia. And we're speaking with Ellen's parents this morning. I want to welcome back in Dr. and Mrs. Josh Greenberg. I want to pick up right where we left off, talking about your opinions and how this occurred. And I want to ask you about how it might have felt when you had opinions from two of the world's most renowned experts, Dr. Cyril Wecht and Dr. Henry Lee, weighing in on this case and believing that a homicide occurred, not a suicide. That must provide a tremendous amount of validation for you, I would think, with the sentiments and suspicions you've had all along. Talk to us about that, please.
That really gave us the fuel to go ahead. Dr. Wecht wrote a report, suspicious of homicide, but he also discussed what the current situation of suicide or taking of your own death is. And if you go and look it up or go on a search, women don't stab themselves anymore. They go for painless ways of passing. And that really ignited us to say what the H is going on here and to move along. We have invested quite a bit of our life savings in the investigation we've had between lawyers and special things we learned, like we have a computerized rendition of all the knife wounds and how deep they were and their angulation and where they were. Sandy? Don't want to add anything. So it really started with us being suspicious, but confirming the suspicions with Dr. Wecht. And as you said, I mean, he was involved in the Kennedy's assassination, doing investigative work for the government, or what have you. He was a big shot in the field. He knew what he was doing. Maybe big shot's not a good word. He was a respected authority.
Yes. We also had Tom Brennan on our side, who had many, many years of experience in this type of thing, and he's been with us, almost from the get-go. And he works hand in hand with Dr. Wayne Ross in Lancaster County in Pennsylvania, who's very, very accomplished. Mm-hmm. And then also Dr. Joseph Scott Morgan
with Nancy
Grace.
Grace.
Yes, we know him. So he's a frequent guest with us. Yes.
Yeah, and so these people are all highly accomplished and very well respected amongst the public and amongst their peers.
Yes.
If you just look at numbers of what the general public thought, it's like 100 or 1,000 to 1 that people didn't believe that this was a suicide. The authorities in Philadelphia may have believed it, but like there was a website that we had asking for the investigation. We had 175,000 people
sign a petition
online, and with no motivation. They weren't paid to do that or anything, and that's quite a big number.
Yes, it is. Ellen's case has garnered so much renewed interest with the Hulu series, as you both know. I have to ask, has anyone from her fiance's family reached out to you after that?
No.
But we are, as I think I said, we are asking them to help us go move further, because there are things that just Sam would know, if people in his family may know, that we don't know, that we can't put our finger on, and our experts can't put their finger on. So we really want to know what's going on. We really want justice for our daughter.
I know you do. Why was his uncle in the apartment taking control of property that belonged to Ellen?
That's a fabulous question. I would love to know. I mean, the man signed his name in the funeral book, but when it came to looking me straight in the eye, we never made eye contact. I think needs to be looked into a little more thorough.
The known reason for him being there was to get Sam a suit for the funeral. But he did walk out with Ellen's private computers, plural, her car keys. Sandy, you're familiar.
Her handbag, her things. He never had permission from us, and I don't care what kind of alibi he has that the police told him. That property was ours, not theirs.
He never said that, to the best of my knowledge, Sandy. Did he say that to you?
I heard through the grapevine he's now saying that.
Well.
What's the uncle's name, please?
James Schwartzman.
Esquire.
And, he's an attorney. Okay, James Schwartzman.
Yes. I think he's also a minor judge.
Okay. And then the other person's name I wanted to get from you, please. You said there was someone in the apartment who was a witness initially before first responders got there.
I don't know that person's name. If you watch the News Nation interview with Brian Enton,
he found him.
They found him.
Okay. Yeah. We would love to speak with him, certainly, and would love to talk with James Schwartzman as well. Dr. and Mrs. Greenberg, we wish you all the best, and we hope we can continue the conversation, as this isn't the first time we've talked about Ellen's case, and it certainly won't be the last. Every good wish, love, and prayers as you continue this fight for justice, and please let us know if you hear any developments with the talk of this federal investigation into the city. And as we head to break, we want to keep remembering Ellen Greenberg. She was so beautiful, had her whole life ahead of her. She was making a difference for young people in the community. She was a school teacher, 27 years old, way too young when she left this earth. Let's hope that her family gets the answers that they deserve after all these years.
That's all for this episode of Opening Statements, my friends. I'm your host, Julie Grant, and it's been great being with you. On this show, I am calling out any pants on fire moments in our big trials and true crime stories, and I want you to come along with me. Opening Statements is live every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern on Court TV. Thank you for downloading this episode. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. You can watch past shows anytime you like on CourtTV.com.